Okay, here we go. Too compulsive. Try to get everything in its place. Okay, here we are. Welcome. This is session number 102. 102. Still in chapter 13, entitled The Guiltless World. And today we are on page 260 in Roman numeral 9, section 9, entitled The Cloud of Guilt. All right, last session, if you remember, I quoted Dr. Wapnick as saying it was a lofty section where Jesus was reminding you that you're at home dreaming, right? The thought of separation never interrupted the creation, never interrupted the communication between you and God, right? And he reminded us that the separation is merely a faulty formulation of reality with no effect at all. So that was in the last section. He kept reminding us who we are and where we were. Right? In this section, right, this is a little bit more earthy. It brings us into what we experience on a day-to-day basis. Right? So this is the cloud of guilt. Okay? There's a cloud between me and the light of truth. Right. Later on, Jesus will talk about clouds. He talks about clouds a lot. And to paraphrase, he'll talk about when you feel yourself in the clouds, say, in these clouds of guilt, and you can't really see where you're going. He said, imagine yourself holding my hand, and I assure you, this will be no idle fantasy. All right? You could dwell on that and rejoice. I always love that sentence. I love a lot of sentences here, but it's such a wonderful reminder, a comforter. All right? He will never leave you comfortless. That being said, let's begin. The cloud of guilt. Guilt remains the only thing that hides the Father, for guilt is the attack upon his Son. The guilty always condemn, and having done so, they will still condemn, liking the future to the past, as is the ego's law. Fidelity to this law lets no light in, for it demands fidelity to darkness and forbids awakening. The ego's laws are strict, and breaches are severely punished. Therefore, give no obedience to its laws, for they are laws of punishment. And those who follow them believe that they are guilty, and so they must condemn. Between the future and the past, the laws of God must intervene if you would free yourself. Atonement stands between them, like a lamp, shining so brightly that the chain of darkness in which you bound yourself will disappear. Okay. All right. So he says, guilt remains the only thing that hides you from your Father. It hides you from the knowledge of your relationship with creation, right? Of your relationship with the Creator of all things, right? With the source of vast creation. Guilt puts a cloud so you can't see it. It hides the Father from you. And the guilty always condemn. Right? First they're condemning themselves, even though they don't realize it. And they can't stand the feeling, so they have to find somebody else who's guilty, right? I mean, it happens in so many gazillion ways, okay? You can apply it to your own lives. You see something you don't like about yourself, and then you know, at some point in your life, you know you were picking out people that were worse than you, okay? So, the guilty always condemn, and having done so, they will still condemn, because they link the future to the past. All right? The future is always going to be like the past, right? Because you're always guilty. That's the ego's law. Right? And he says the ego's laws are strict. You know, you step outside, you get killed for it. If you don't obey the ego's laws, people are going to think you're crazy. What do you mean 2 + 2 is 4? Like my wonderful high school math teacher, Father Edward W. Troige, once said to me, you know, Mr. Pratt, that 1 and 1 is only approximately 2. And he had that Cheshire Cat grin on his face. 1 and 1 are approximately 2, but the ego's law will think you're crazy, right? And being faithful to the ego lets no light in, right? Until we start questioning the ego, there is no crack, as Leonard Cohen would say, if we're not questioning the ego. Right? Breaches are severely punished. And those who follow the laws of the ego, they believe that they're guilty. And so they must project, they must condemn other people. And here's a key sentence in this paragraph, well, one of them anyway. Between the future and the past, the laws of God must intervene if you would free yourself. So the ego doesn't give any moment, doesn't give any credence to the present moment. As we said last week, it likes to elide, it likes to slip right across the present. All right? So you keep planning for the future, worrying about the future. You have a thought about the past, oh my God, what did I do? And you're never thinking that right in this moment, where the holy instant is, where the laws of God intervene, in the strictest definition of that word, they come in between the past and the future. They intervene. Okay? And in that holy instant, in that present moment, is the laws of God, which is you are a beautiful thought in the mind of God. You are the essence of all that is. You are love. And the problem is we have to use words. Okay. Between the future and the past, the laws of God must intervene if you would free yourself. Atonement stands between them, right, the past and the future. Like a lamp shining so brightly that the chain of darkness in which you bound yourself will disappear. So in the present moment is this idea of atonement, all right, the word we use in the Course that says you never separated from God. You are free of the ego. You didn't do anything wrong. You did not commit a sin. You did not attack yourself. You did not attack God. You did not attack the oneness. Everything is going the way it was. Okay? So atonement stands between them, like a lamp. So there's the thought of the atonement. You didn't do anything wrong. In the now. Shining that lamp on the guilt, shining it away. Paragraph 2. containing another one of my favorite sentences. It's a wonderful thought to carry with you whenever you get tempted. Release from guilt is the ego's whole undoing. Here it is. Make no one fearful, for his guilt is yours. And by obeying the ego's harsh commandments, you bring its condemnation on yourself, and you will not escape the punishment it offers those who obey it. The ego rewards fidelity to it with pain, for faith in it is pain. And faith can be rewarded only in terms of the belief in which the faith was placed. Faith makes the power of belief, and where it is invested determines its reward. For faith is always given what is treasured, and what is treasured is returned to you. So, first of all, we'll go to the beginning where he says, release from guilt is the ego's whole undoing. And that's the atonement principle. You are not guilty. It undoes the entire ego thought system, which is based on guilt. The entire ego thought system is based on the premise that you separated from God. You destroyed oneness. You attacked the Son of God, as they say, which is you. All right? So release from guilt is the ego's whole undoing. And this is in italics when he says, make no one fearful. Right? And we make people fearful by projecting guilt onto them. Right? Whether it's, and it's immediate. Some people take it, you right on the spot, you say you're guilty of something, they're automatically thinking there's some kind of repercussions coming, there's some kind of punishment coming. Okay. And on a metaphysical level, you're telling them that you're not worthy of being in heaven. You ruined the oneness. You attacked God. You just ruined everything. And you should be afraid, because now God is coming to kick your butt. God's going to find you, slap you around, and then make you suffer the rest of your life. All right? So you should be afraid. And it's not nice to make people afraid. All right? So he says, don't do that. Don't make people fearful. All right? In other words, don't project guilt onto them. It's not nice, because it comes right back to you. It's constantly repeating that. What you give out, you get. And he's going to keep saying it over and over again. All right? Make no one fearful, for his guilt is yours. And by obeying the ego's harsh commandments, you bring its condemnation on yourself. And you will not escape the punishment it offers to those who obey it. Right? So, if someone is guilty, so are you. Right? And you're gonna pay. You're gonna have that thought in your head somewhere along the line. You're gonna pay. Right? And putting faith in the ego, he says, the ego rewards that faith with pain. For faith in it is pain. Because if I do invest faith, my belief, my trust, in the idea that I separated from God, right away, everything is painful. Right? The thought of punishment is painful. Right? Every day, rolling the rock up the hill is painful. That's the reward for believing that I'm separated from God. And faith can be rewarded only in terms of the belief in which faith was placed. So I can only get the kinds of rewards that the ego offers if I put my faith in the ego. Okay? There you go. You get a bag of stuff from the ego. That's your present. That's your reward. Because you think that's all there is the ego. Faith is always given to what is treasured. So if I treasure that thought of separation, I put my faith in it. Oh yes, it's true. I believe it. I'm separated from God. And he says, and what is treasured is returned to you. So that belief reinforces itself. Okay? The belief reinforces itself until we start to question it, start to look at it. The moment we think, there must be something better than this, then we can hear Leonard Cohen singing in the background. Ring the bells that still can ring. All right? Forget your foolish offerings. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. So we put the crack in the ego by questioning it. Is this really the way to go? It must be something better than this. That's the invitation to the memory of who we are to come in and help us. Okay? So, now I have all these songs rolling through my head. Okay? So faith is always given what is treasured. And what is treasured is returned to you. The world, paragraph 3, the world can give you only what you gave it. For being nothing but your projection, it has no meaning apart from what you found in it and placed your faith in. Be faithful unto darkness, and you will not see, because your faith will be rewarded as you gave it. You will accept your treasure, and if you place your faith in the past, the future will be like it. Whatever you hold dear, you think is yours. The power of your valuing will make it so. Right? Once again, he says these things over and over again. Right? Be faithful unto darkness, and you will not see. Be faithful to that thought that you're separated from God. There's something wrong with you. Be faithful to that thought that says you're guilty of something. And you won't see, because your faith will be rewarded as you gave it. You put your trust in that thought, and that's what you'll get back, the reinforcement of that thought. Right? Whatever you hold dear, you think is yours. Okay? If you place your faith in the past, sin, guilt, and fear, once again, that's what's in the past. The future will be like it. The power of your valuing will make it so. So it stands to reason that the more we value right-minded thinking, the more we value going inside, connecting with that part of the mind that is truly connected to God, and remembering who we are. If we connect to that part of the mind, that's what we are valuing in the moment, and that's what will reward us. That's what will be reinforced. And we will see the effects. You'll know the effects. Okay? And you'll want it more and more, because that thought system reinforces itself also. Okay. The power of your valuing will make it so. Paragraph 4. Atonement brings a reevaluation of everything you cherish, for it is the means by which the Holy Spirit can separate the false and the true. which you have accepted into your mind without distinction. Therefore, you cannot value one without the other, and guilt has become as true for you as innocence. You do not believe the Son of God is guiltless because you see the past, and you see him not. When you condemn a brother, you are saying, I, who was guilty, choose to remain so. You have denied his freedom, and by so doing, you have denied the witness unto yours. You could as easily have freed him from the past and lifted from his mind the cloud of guilt that binds him to it, and in his freedom would have been your own. All right, how many times? He's going to keep saying it over and over again. All right. When you condemn the other, you're condemning yourself, because there is no separation. There is no other. There's only oneness. Right? What we're seeing is, that faulty formulation of reality. We're seeing fragments of our self projected out, and we're saying that piece of me is guilty. Well, how can a piece of you be guilty if not the whole thing being guilty? Right? You can't just go around. And he's going to tell you that you can't say, well, these people are very innocent, and these people are very guilty. Right? And this person is innocent, this guy is, there's a special place in hell for him. Right? You can't do that, because there's going to be a special place in hell for you. And hell is right now. Right? No future. So if you're condemning someone to hell, right, you better get an air conditioner. All right. So, atonement, which is that thought that you never separated from God, if that thought is in your mind, it brings a reevaluation of everything that you think is important. Right? It becomes a means by which the Holy Spirit, because we don't do these things by myself. I don't do these things as Kevin by myself. All right? I need to reach that part of me that is connected with the right mind, that knows who I am. That's the Holy Spirit, symbolized by the Holy Spirit, symbolized by Jesus, symbolized by anything that represents, right, an abstract love to you, right, that is part of you, right, your Buddha mind, your Christ consciousness, right, however you feel comfortable seeing that. I'm sure Rumi connected with that part of his mind that was just elated in the present moment. If you read his poetry, he speaks of, it's rather sensuous, almost bacchanal, right? The way he describes his relationship with that part of the mind that remembers who he is. Right? It's just wondrous. It's intoxicating. Okay. So what I'm saying is that this is not the only path home, okay? Don't let the words become an obstacle to you. Right? The word atonement in the Course is the idea that you never separated. And it brings about a reevaluation of everything you thought was important, everything you cherished. The Holy Spirit can separate the false from the true, okay, which you have accepted into your mind without distinction. All right, which is why we sometimes think we're fluctuating, or we think we're doing the right thing when we're doing this, and we're allowing everything in. to the mind, not making distinctions on what is it for. Is it for promoting separation and conflict, or is it for promoting oneness and that the unity with the Godhead? So what is it for? Is it useful or is it useless? And he says you accept both of these things into your mind without distinction. So you cannot value one without the other. And guilt has become as true for you as innocence. Oh yes, I am a child of God, right? But I'm also a snake in the grass. All right? You know? He says you're confused. You're accepting things into your mind without distinction. You do not believe the Son of God is guiltless because you see the past. You do not believe yourself is guiltless. You don't believe the others are guiltless because you're using the filter of the past. And in the past is the thought of separation. You did something wrong. So you're not seeing correctly. So you see him not. The guilt is blinding you. To get back to that metaphor. Who then, well, wait, that's the next one. Pardon me. So because you see the past, you don't see him correctly. And here it is again. When you condemn a brother, what you're really saying is, I, who was guilty, choose to remain so. I choose to remain guilty by projecting it out onto you. Because the ego tell you, project it, you find somebody else who's guilty and you get rid of your guilt. It doesn't work. It only reinforces the idea of guilt. All right? So I, who was guilty, choose to remain so. And he says, and you have denied his freedom. So he's guilty. You're denying him the freedom he has as a son of God. And he says, and by doing that, you're denying your own. Right? There's no separation. There's no other. Right? We only believe there is. And we need help realizing that. Right? Which is why I say a gazillion times, I go inside and say, help me to see this correctly. And I was walking down the street thinking about that. And I'm saying, it's not to be used as like a mantra. It's not to be used as like, the first coat of paint or something, covering up the marks on the wall or something. It's not there just to stop that thought. Right? It depends on sincerity. It really does. I sincerely want to see the other's innocence. I sincerely want to see this situation correctly. I want to see it through the eyes of peace because I sincerely do not want the conflict anymore. I don't want the conflict. So, be careful. The ego likes to, get in the back door and use things for its own benefit. So it's not just a mantra, a handy little, like rosary beads or something. Help me to see this correctly. You have to check your own sincerity. Okay? So, I never saw the movie, but I like the line when people say, check yourself before you wreck yourself. All right? So you have to check yourself. Do I really want to see this correctly? Because if you don't, you're going to wreck yourself. So when you condemn a brother, you are saying, I, who was guilty, choose to remain so. You have denied his freedom, and by so doing you have denied the witness unto yours. He's the witness unto your freedom. The fact that you did not sin. He's the witness. It comes back to you immediately. You could as easily have freed him from the past and lifted from his mind the cloud of guilt that binds him to it, and in his freedom would have been your own. Right? Saying it over and over again. Okay, you could have released him from that cloud of guilt that binds him. Right? Even if he doesn't realize that, it's the mind we're talking about, not the actions, not the forms. Right? By being willing to see the innocence grows, it blossoms. Right? And it's in the bank for the other, whether they realize it or not, so to speak. So, paragraph 5. There's always so much more to say. Paragraph 5. Lay not his guilt upon him, for his guilt lies in his secret thought that he has done this unto you. Would you then teach him he's right in his delusion? The idea that the guiltless Son of God can attack himself and make himself guilty is insane. In any form, in anyone, believe this not. For sin and condemnation are the same, and the belief in one is faith in the other, calling for punishment instead of love. Nothing can justify insanity, and to call for punishment upon yourself must be insane. So if I'm saying you're guilty, I'm saying I'm guilty. And guilt demands punishment. It just comes right after it. And by saying you need punishment, I'm saying I need punishment. And she's saying, come on, that's, folks, that's insane. Okay? Jesus likes to point that out. He has to point that out very succinctly in black and white. Nothing can justify insanity. Right? Nothing can justify you thinking that you're guilty. Nothing. Nothing can justify that the other is guilty. In every condemnation, right? Nothing can justify it. To call for punishment upon yourself must be insane. So don't lay his guilt on him. For his guilt, Jesus talks about that secret. He always talks about the secret thought that we have. And that secret thought that we have is the idea that I was the one that ruined the oneness. It was me. That's the secret thought. I don't want anyone to know. Right? And when it rises up, and it takes shape in different ways, because we can't really face that thought that I was the one that ruined heaven. Right? It comes in other ways. Right? I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough, and doggone it, no one likes me. That's the reverse of Stuart Smalley would say. Right? I don't have enough. I'm not enough. I don't look good, right? I don't do this correctly. I don't do that right. If anybody knew who I was, they would hate me. That's how it comes out, right? The secret thought is that I ruined the oneness, right? So when you tell somebody else they're guilty, that's what you're telling them. You're reinforcing that secret thought that they have. Right? I remember in therapeutic circles, they used to say, well, if you got upset at what he said, there must be a part of you that believes it. Okay. All right, I guess you're right. But that's it. You're telling that person you're guilty. Right? There's something wrong with you. Because deep down inside, that's what we think. So you're reinforcing that. And he says what you're doing is you're teaching them that his delusion is correct. He says, you think you're guilty, that's delusional. He says, and yet you're reinforcing that delusion on this poor guy over here. Remember, he says, make no one fearful. All right, what are you going to make him afraid for? All right. Would you then teach him he is right in his delusion? Okay. The idea that the guiltless Son of God can attack himself and make himself guilty is insane. All right. Jesus is telling you that the whole idea of guilt is insane. And remember what comes with that, the original roots of that word, is that the mind is not healthy. The mind needs to be healed. All right? And the atonement is the healing of the mind. The thought that you never did anything. You are the way that God created you. That's the healing. Okay. Paragraph 6. See no one then as guilty, and you will affirm the truth of guiltlessness unto yourself. In every condemnation that you offer the Son of God lies the conviction of your own guilt. If you would have the Holy Spirit make you free of it, accept his offer of atonement for all your brothers. For you learn that it is true for you. Remember always that it is impossible to condemn the Son of God in part. Those whom you see guilty, those whom you see as guilty, become the witness to the guilt in you, and you will see it there. For it is there until it is undone. Guilt is always in your mind, which has condemned itself. Project it not, for while you do, it cannot be undone. With everyone whom you release from guilt, great is the joy in heaven, where the witnesses to your fatherhood rejoice. Alrighty then. So see no one as guilty. He's going to repeat this in different beautiful words. See no one as guilty, and you will affirm the truth of guiltlessness unto yourself. All right, there's no separation. All right, if I'm willing to see the innocence in the other, I will become aware of my own. All right, and that's what we're asking for when we truly want corrected perception. Help me to see correctly. I'm willing to see correctly. I'm willing to see my own innocence. Because deep down inside, we're afraid of that. You think that the moment you get in touch with your innocence and who you really are, you're going to go poof. And in ego terms, that means you're going to die. You're going to be obliterated. Right? So we're usually reluctant to accept our own innocence even, right? And what he's telling us here is that the Holy Spirit, so in every condemnation, right, is the conviction of your own guilt, just like he said before. So if you would have the Holy Spirit make you free of it, So notice, we don't do it by ourselves. We go into the mind and ask for help. Help me with this situation. I don't want to see it through the eyes of conflict. I don't want to see it through the eyes of sin and guilt. Right? The Holy Spirit will help you. Right? Will make you free of the guilt. Right? Accept his offer of atonement for all your brothers. So accept the fact that you didn't do anything for everyone. It's going to help everybody. For so you learn that it is true for you. Remember, it's impossible to condemn the Son of God in part. Right? Like we said before, this group is wonderful. This group is crazy. These people are holy. These people are not. They're sinners. These people are good. These people are bad. Right? He says you can't just condemn the whole thing in part. You're condemning everything, right, when you're projecting guilt. Those who you see as guilty become the witnesses to the guilt in you, once again. And you'll see it. You'll believe it. You'll believe, yeah, I'm guilty. All right? You're going to be pushing it down, thinking, yeah, I won that argument. Then, you're walking away going, oh, boy, what an idiot I am. Or even if you're not really aware of that, you don't really feel 100% really great because you just defeated somebody somehow. Right? And he says, so the guilt is there until it's undone. All right? We believe it's there. Not that it's true, but we believe it's there until we have it undone for us. Help me undo this guilt. Okay? It's there until it's undone. And guilt is always in your mind. Guilt is always in the mind which has condemned itself. So he says, so stop projecting it. Otherwise, you can't undo it. You have to stop projecting. Right? You have to stop that flow for a second in order to undo it. Right? With everyone whom you release from guilt, great is the joy in heaven, where the witnesses to your fatherhood rejoice. Okay. Paragraph 7. Guilt makes you blind, for while you see one spot of guilt within you, you will not see the light. And by projecting it, the world seems dark and shrouded in your guilt. And by projecting it, the world seems dark and shrouded in your guilt. You throw a dark veil over it and cannot see it because you cannot look within. You are afraid of what you would see there, but it is not there. The thing you fear is gone. If you would look within, you would see only the atonement, shining in quiet and in peace upon the altar to your Father. Okay? So you're afraid to look within. You think you're going to see that original thought. You're going to find out that, yes, it was you who ruined everything. Right? It was you who made God angry. And now he's going to get you. Right? Now he's going to get you. All right. So, but he says, don't be afraid to look within. Right? The ego tells you exactly what we just said, that you are, there's only that darkness in there. Right? You are that, as Ken would say, that scurvy worm that ruined everything for everyone. Right? So the ego tells you, don't do that. You throw a dark veil over everything. You're afraid of what you would see if you go into your mind. And here's that little sentence fragment that says, but it's not there. What you fear is gone. And what is it we fear? The guilt. The awareness of the guilt. Right? The confirmation of the guilt. He says, it's not there. It's gone. As Jesus says, never existed actually. You never were guilty. So what you fear is gone. If you would look within, you would see only the atonement. Right? If you would look within, you would see only the fact that you are not guilty. You would see only the atonement shining in quiet and in peace upon the altar to your Father, which is your mind. Right? The atonement would be shining quietly. And that's it. The forgiveness, the right mind, the Holy Spirit, they don't make noise. They don't jump up and down. They're always referred to as being quiet. Right? They quietly do nothing. They merely look and wait and judge not. Right? They're just sitting there waiting for you to remember. So he says, don't be afraid to look within, paragraph 8. He says, the ego tells you all is black with guilt within you and bids you not to look. Instead, it bids you look upon your brothers and see the guilt in them. Yet this you cannot do without remaining blind. For those who see their brothers in the dark and guilty in the dark in which they surround them, are too afraid to look upon the light within. Within you is not what you believe is there. Within you is not the guilt you think is there. And what you put your faith in. We put our faith in the belief in separation. He says it's not there. Paragraph 7, within you is the holy sign of perfect faith your Father has in you. He does not value you as you do. He knows himself and knows the truth in you. He knows there's no difference, for he knows not of differences. You cannot deny his knowledge, or you can deny his knowledge, but you cannot change it. Look then upon the light he placed within you, and learn that what you feared was there has been replaced with love. What you feared was there has been replaced with love. We're afraid that if we look within, we're going to see a confirmation of all the criticisms. We're going to see the confirmation of the fact that, yeah, there is something wrong with you. Right? But he says God knows you as he knows himself. Can you see guilt where God knows there's perfect innocence? All right? Can you tell God, no, you're wrong? No, you're wrong. I'm this. All right? He says, no, you can't. All right? You go within, you visit that right mind, and you will look upon the light that he placed within you. All right? This is not just beautiful words. As Jesus says, this is not idle fantasy. Right? This is not nice poetry, beautiful sentiment. This is the truth. Right? There is a light in you It is the light of eternity. It is the light that connects you to the light of the Father. Look then upon the light he placed within you, and learn that what you feared was there has been replaced with love. Okay. And you can remember to look at what you misperceived in the other and ask for help with that. That you are not guilty. And he's telling us that you don't figure that out for yourself. We need help going back into our thoughts and asking, help me to see correctly. I want to see the light. I want to see the truth. Okay? I want that cloud of guilt to blow away. And remember, Jesus says it's not there. What you feared was there, it's just not there. It's gone. It was gone the instant you thought of it. It was replaced with the truth. Alrighty then, so we will bring this session to a close. All right. Do not be afraid to look within. All right. You have the light within you. Alrighty then. Thank you, and we will see you next time. Bye now.